Walker, Season 1, Episode 9, entitled Rule Number 17, starts out on the night of Emily Walker's murder. Cordell is waiting at the Border Patrol substation where Emily's body has been taken. He is waiting outside, and Jerry joins Walker as they both wait to hear from Larry James. They both already know she is dead. James comes out of the station and tells Walker that they are ready for him to come in and view the body of Emily. Walker, Jerry, and James walk into the building and then into the room where Emily lays with a white sheet laying over the top of her body. James looks over at Walker, and Walker looks back at him and slowly nods for him to uncover her. Walker slowly walks over to her and then collapses to his knees in agony, crying. James tells Walker he will take him home, and Walker says no, he's not going home until whomever murdered Emily is dead on a slab of their own. James tells him that it won't bring him any peace. Walker says, well, I won't know until he's dead. Walker touches Emily's face gently and breaks down even more. Jerry just stands back crying as all that is taking place. Then we fast forward to present day. Abilene and Bonham are both on horseback riding around on the ranch assessing the damage that the storm did to their place. Abilene says to Bonham that Liam told her about him and James in Mexico and Emily's killer still being out there. Abilene doesn't know what to think. All Bonham says is that he hopes they find the son of a bitch who did it, no matter what happens next. She says that Cordell has not told August and Stella yet. As Abilene rides off, she says, I hope they find this son of a bitch soon. Later on that same morning, Bonham, Abilene, Liam, Stella, and August all sit at the breakfast table. Everyone is there for support for Cordell, Stella, and August. Walker comes in and stands at the end of the table very nervously. Walker tells everyone that Carlos Mendoza is innocent. He tells them he's being released from prison later on that night. He continues by saying that Liam and James did some digging and that the Northside Nation gang is involved. August stops his dad and asks him with a serious look on his face and says, Mom's killer is still out there. Stella jumps into the conversation and says, so what, you're going to go out there and find them? August looks at Walker, saying this person is trying to hurt our family. He asks his dad if they are even safe there. Bonham comes into the conversation, saying to both Stella and August that if anyone comes on the ranch looking to do anyone any harm, they'd better bring a rosary. Stella says, so you're going hunting, and we're just supposed to let you? Walker says he can't sit by and do nothing while the killer walks free. Larry James dries up and honks his horn. He tells the kids that he is trying to bring peace back to the family. Both the kids get up and walk out of the room. Abilene tells Cordell that they just need some time and space to sort out these feelings. Cordell comes out of the house and sees Larry James. Larry tells Walker that he has a listening device inside of a Northside Nation poker game and that one member mentioned something about burying a ranger's dead wife. Walker decides to tag along with his old partner to see what they can both learn and hopefully find Emily's killer. Walker and James end up in a large cargo rental van that has their equipment set up for listening in on the poker game. They are parked outside of a warehouse where members of the Northside Nation gang are having their poker game. James hands Walker a file on some of the Northside Nation members. Walker opens the file and sees Jerry's photo is right on top, and Walker asks why Jerry's photo is in that file. Just then, Jerry pulls up at the warehouse. Larry tells Cordell that the money paid to Carlos Mendoza was laundered for Jerry and the Sidestep bar. Walker and James both see Jerry pull up at the warehouse, and Walker goes out there before she goes in to confront her about her involvement in Emily's murder and why she was there that night. The conversation gets heated with Jerry very quickly, and Walker probes her on if she killed Emily, which she denies. Jerry tells Walker that she is there to repay a loan she took out with Northside Nation. James comes out of the van to stop their heated argument before they are seen. They all get back into the cargo van and decide how to proceed with staking out the poker game. Back at the ranch, Bonham and Abilene are sitting outside on their porch drinking lemonade. Liam is destroying a piece of furniture that was made for him and Brett, and the kids, Stella and August, are at each other's throats fighting over the piano because they are both worried about their dad. Mickey Ramirez comes by the ranch just to see how everyone is doing with everything going on, and she said she is there just as a friend and to lend support for them. Walker and James had an undercover ranger in the warehouse poker game already, and his wire went dead. Jerry claims she knows Oswald of Northside Nation, who is her contact that she has to pay back. Walker knows him because he was in Laredo. Jerry goes into the warehouse against Larry and Walker's wishes. She does go in with a wire, and so she can get more information and hopefully find out in Northside Nation who killed Emily. Jerry goes to the table Oswald is at and gives him the $25,000 in cash to pay off her debt. Jerry sits down and decides to play in a game of poker. At the ranch, Liam starts cleaning out the garage and Mickey brings him some lemonade when she notices a sign laying against the wall that says Walker for Governor, which she asks why she's never heard of that until now. Mickey tells Liam what she told Bonham and Abilene, that she is just there as a friend. All of a sudden they both hear arguing in the house and the sound of piano keys, to which Mickey tells Liam she will deal with the kids. Stella is mad because Trevor texted August and not her. She tells Mickey that he ghosted her at the dance and that she has not heard from him since that night. Mickey says to them both that she knows how they can burn off some of that pent-up energy they both have, so she takes them rifle shooting out in the pasture. Back at the warehouse poker game, a lady sitting next to Jerry at the poker table tells her to be careful around Oswald, that he can go off at any time for anything. Jerry gets up and goes to the bar area of the warehouse where Oswald is at, and she asks him what he has against Jerry selling her bar and what his beef is with Ranger Walker. Oswald does not like what Jerry is saying, so he has his men grab her and he feels her and discovers the wire. Just as that happens, Cordell and Larry both enter the bar, Walker with a pump-action shotgun and James with his service pistol. Oswald has Jerry by the neck with his sidearm pointed at her head. Walker and James tells everyone in the bar to put their weapons on the ground, which they do, but Oswald is the only one who doesn't comply with their instructions. Walker has the barrel of his shotgun pointed at Oswald, and he tells Oswald to let her go. As Walker and James are holding them at gunpoint, a group of other Texas Rangers show up with automatic weapons drawn to help back up Walker and James. Oswald releases Jerry and puts his weapon on the ground. Jerry goes up to Oswald and punches him in the face and tells him that consider her debt paid. As Jerry walks out of the bar, Walker and James and the other Rangers start cuffing and arresting the others there as well as Oswald. On the way out, the blonde woman at the table where Jerry was tells Jerry that she knows about what happened on the border the night of April 8th and tells her to tell her ranger friends that she will speak to them outside the warehouse. At the ranch, Liam, Bonham, and Abilene finally talk about what is really going on with Liam and if it has to do with Brett or Cordell or both, but they all finally talk about it. Out in the pasture at the ranch, August, Stella, and Mickey are shooting targets and empty beer bottles just to release some energy. Mickey, Stella, and August talk about what's going on with them and how the kids are really feeling about all that is going on and that their mother's killer is still out there. Mickey tells them that when she was growing up, her mom had this phrase for her, and it was, "Not right, not wrong, just honest." She tells them that maybe it is something they both could think about. August finally comes out and tells Mickey and his sister how he feels about what is happening. He says to them that he hopes his dad kills the bastard that murdered their mom. Stella looks up at August with a surprised look on her face and says, "Augie," in a very stern voice. He says, "It's true. With everything that has happened, he just wants the guy dead." He says jail time is way too small for this guy. He tells them that the guy needs to suffer as they have. Stella says she feels differently. She tells them that when Cordell told them that the murderer is still alive, she thought to herself that they really have to go through and relive all of this again. She says she feels like things were almost normal again, or as normal as they could be. August asks Mickey if they are terrible people. Mickey looks at him straight in the eyes and says no. At the warehouse, the sun has gone down and it is now dark outside. Walker, Larry, and the rest of the Rangers get the gang in police cruisers and are headed to jail. Jerry has already headed back home. Now Cordell and Larry wait for Callie, the blonde woman who says she wants to speak to them both. Larry and Walker have a heart-to-heart about the way things have been as they wait for Callie. Finally, one of the other Rangers brings her out of the warehouse to speak with them. She tells them both she wants protection from Oswald and the Northside Nation gang. They tell her they can protect her. Walker asks if she knows who killed Emily, and she says yes. She asks them to take off the cuffs, and she will tell them who the killer is. Walker takes off the cuffs. She tells them about a recording from an April 10th game where Oswald is talking about Emily's murder. Walker asks if he admits to it personally. She tells him that they can listen to it. The recording is on her phone, which is back in the warehouse. She goes in to get it. James gets a phone call from Ranger headquarters telling him that Oswald is not the killer and that his alibi checks out. All of a sudden, Walker looks into the window of the warehouse and sees Callie doing something that jars a memory from that night, and he remembers that same thing happening on that night that she is currently doing inside the warehouse. Walker tells James that it is Callie. She was there the night that Emily was killed. She's the killer. All of a sudden, all of the lights go out in the warehouse. Then gunshots come through the glass from inside the warehouse, and the shots were aimed for both of them. Walker and James both take out their sidearms and run into the warehouse to stop her. They both have flashlights and are looking around for her in the dark. More shots ring out at Walker. James and Walker both separate and kill their lights. James hears more shots and he runs in the direction they came from. Walker follows footprints from water that was stepped in by Callie. Callie comes up behind Walker and says, "Hey, Ranger," as her gun is pointed right at him. He slowly turns around, raising his hands. Larry comes around the corner and confronts her, telling her to drop the gun. She raises her hands, and in a more demanding tone, Larry orders her to drop the gun, which she does. Walker turns around and points his pistol at her. James orders her to kick the gun away, which she does. Walker tells her that he remembers her and that she was there that night at the border and says, "It was you. You killed my wife." He asks her why. She tells him she was crossing the Northside Nation territory. She says she killed Emily because they hit a pothole and busted open some crates of painkillers they were smuggling. They only lost a few, but Emily was there and happened to see them. Callie says Emily had her phone and that she looked like a talker who would run and turn them in. Walker's pain and anger are now boiling over, and he gets closer to her with his gun aimed right at her head. James tells him, "Don't do it." James says, "It won't bring you peace." Walker says to James, "I won't know until she's dead." He tells Walker, "Let's bring her in, find out what else she knows." As Walker puts his gun away, Callie slides a small handheld pistol out of her sleeve and points it at Walker. Just as she does, they all hear another gunshot, and Callie falls over dead. Jerry comes in from around the corner with a gun in her hand that has just been fired and killed Callie. Walker and James turn around and see her. Walker goes over to comfort her, and as that is happening, James goes over to Callie and checks her pulse to confirm that she is in fact dead. Larry drives Walker home. As Walker enters his parents' house, Stella and August run to him and give him a big hug. Jerry goes to the bar and has a drink in honor of Emily. Liam, now clean-shaven, talks with his mom about what is next in his future as he stares at the Walker for Governor sign. Carlos Mendoza is released from prison. The Walkers have dinner together, and Cordell makes a toast in front of the family. As he is speaking, he sees the ghost of Emily looking at him. He ends the toast by saying, "To Emily." Emily's ghost looks back at him and says, "I love you." And that is the end of Walker Season 1, Episode 9, Rule Number 17. I really liked this episode. It was a very thrilling, action-packed, and emotional episode for Cordell as well as the entire Walker family. I really liked that we were finally getting some closure on Emily's murder. But in my honest opinion, I think that this episode is just the beginning. I still think there is more to it, or more people involved, than what this episode has showed us. I felt like for the most part, it was too easy, too quick. There has to be more. Maybe someone close to Walker is involved. Maybe it is like a cover-up or conspiracy of some kind. I'm so glad that we got some closure on Jerry and that she was not part of Emily's murder like I thought she might be after what happened in some of the previous episodes. I'm wondering if maybe Walker's undercover work when he was Duke Culpepper, or someone like Clint West or someone else on the Rodeo Kings gang might have played a part in all of this. I guess we'll just have to wait and see. I'm glad we finally flush out the kids and how they are really feeling, especially now since the murderer was still on the loose in this episode. I can relate to how August feels. If someone killed a family member of mine, I would want that bastard dead as well. I can relate to Stella's feelings, but I'm more on August's side on all this. That pretty much sums up what I have to say about the episode. For my grade for Walker Season 1, Episode 9, Rule number 17, I'm going to give this episode an A-. The reason for the A- is because, like I said above, I still feel like there's more to Emily's murder and perhaps more people are involved than what was shown in this episode. But all in all, it was a great episode. As far as this episode's review on Walker is concerned, I want to apologize to my viewers and subscribers for getting this episode's review out so late to you guys. I had some personal things happening that I had to deal with and also to take care of, so that is the reason for my tardiness on getting this review out to you all so late. I hope you will all forgive me for that. But anyway, I want to say thank you so much for watching. Good night. God bless. I love all of you, and I will see you all in the next video. Until then, so long.